If you're a fan of words like indie, doom, gears, metal, battle, mecha, tactics, aces, dark, darker, and or Flintlock, then this is the show for you. Kick back and relax as we discuss some choice favorites and some controversial showcases from Summer Game Fest and Steam Next Fest.
Hi, I'm Nick, and now that Next Fest is done, Nick Fest is starting, where you can play me for free for half an hour, and if you like it, I'll pay you to do the rest of my life.
Hi, I'm Josh, and when is Doom Guy gonna get to go to someplace nice?
I'm Andy, and this is Video Game Tango.
Oh, I'm tired of this ritual.
I know, it's tough to do. I joined in that time, and it was tough.
I'm sure it's not easy. That's why I don't do it.
I had to adapt to turtle breathing.
Through his cloaca.
You know what that means if you know.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Well, hey, we're back! And guess what happened over this last weekend?
So many things.
Turtles.
So many games. So we talked about last week how we were going to get Summer Games Fest over the weekend, and we sure did. Hundreds of game announcements. This was probably the hardest list for me to break down into just a few good ones to talk about, which we're going to do here in just a moment.
So, real quick, if I could, I don't know if anyone else faced this same confusion. I didn't realize. I thought the Summer Games Fest thing that I kind of paid attention to a little bit. I thought that was it, and then I was like, well, this doesn't seem like a big whoop-de-doo, because I felt like the Ubisoft Direct, Microsoft Advanced, or
Ubisoft
whatever,
Forward,
whatever.
Xbox Game Showcase.
Yes. I felt like all of those things were kind of independent because I was watching them disjointedly, and it didn't feel that way. But then, yeah, it is E3. It is new E3.
To say if it helps, Annie did list off every show that was happening between Friday and Monday on that
but
podcast.
It didn't. I know, but it didn't feel like it was under one banner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because it wasn't.
Well, it is. So Summer Game Fest, like all of
But it
them
is.
use the hashtag Summer Game Fest, and so they were easily found through,
Yeah, but it's not like it's
WordClouds and
one
Twitter.
company or one website
Sure.
doing all
Yeah,
of them.
no. But
Right.
but
You had to
what
jump
used to be, if you guys remember, even when E3 happened, Microsoft years ago pulled their events from E3 and started doing their own event at the same time. Same thing with Sony, and same thing with Nintendo.
Because they're rude.
Well, yeah, I mean, they still did them in the same general area, but they would just get like, hotel theaters and lobbies and stuff where they would do their showcase instead of at the E3 main floor.
Yeah, it's
So-
rude.
Well, yeah.
That's why E3 died.
And,
Because they all pulled out and then did it across the street.
Yeah, but to be honest, I mean, I think that they're doing a pretty good job. At least Summer Game Fest kind of putting all of the events together and making
nice of
sure
them.
that they don't overlap in their time slots and stuff like that. And they didn't for the most part. There were a few smaller events that definitely overlapped with other events, but as far as the prime ones, they were easily watchable, easily found on the Summer Game Fest website. It had links and times and to everything. So yeah, it was awesome. I liked the kind of the bit of cohesion that we got.
Yeah, once you had said that, I did. I just put in the hashtag, and then I got all of those things under the hashtag. I was like, okay, it is kind of like new E3. Because I went in with the mindset of having watched a bit of Summer. I was much more interested in what Xbox was doing than the Summer Games Fest. But it was all one thing.
Yeah.
Sort of. Most.
Sort of. Yeah.
Mostly.
But yeah, if you went to summergamefest.com/events, which is still up and still shows the same events, it listed everything. So if you want to watch all of those events and you're like, where do I go for these? Because you might find some stuff on IGN, some stuff on game trailers. It's all pretty spread around. But if you want a consolidated list of all of the events that happened and you want to watch the video on demand of all the live streams that happened over the weekend, then you can just go to summergamefest.com/events, and that will show you all the events that happen, links to their VODs, and it's pretty well consolidated. All that said, let's get into the games.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the first game I want to showcase, it is an indie title. It is Screenbound. Screenbound is a game about being distracted, but totally in control. Crescent Moon Games made it, and it's being published by Those Dang Games. This one's announced for Steam. We don't know when it's going to come out. So I know that description, Screenbound, is a game about being distracted but totally in control. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And I apologize for you audio-only listeners because this
highly
is
recommend you look up the video.
Definitely look this up. It's called Screenbound. And effectively, the gameplay loop is you play in first person in an action puzzle platformer, somebody that is also playing a Game Boy-esque device, a mobile game device. The mobile game device shows you a 2D plane where you play a puzzle platformer, and your regular view outside of the Game Boy, again, really hard to explain all this, shows you a 3D world puzzle platformer.
That is the same world.
That is the same world. However, both worlds have different enemies, things to interact with, assets. Like at one point, you can see in the Game Boy that's being held up little balloons that help you traverse through the game world. You don't see them in the 3D space, but if you use them in the 2D space, you can use them in the 3D space. Again, really, really hard to explain.
It's virtual augmented reality. You're a virtual character and you're gaming. It's augmented reality in your game. You're playing it through an augmented reality Game Boy, but you are the character you're playing in the game. We've watched the trailer 3 or 4 times, and this disjointed description is the best we can come up with, but innovative. Super innovative. There's nothing fucking like it on the market right now. It feels like, so that's super cool.
Yeah,
clever.
So yeah, I really like the look and feel of it. I think it's doing something neat and innovative, something that I've never seen before, at least not like this. So I think it's something to keep your eyes on. Again, that is Screenbound. That'll be coming to Steam. The release date is to be announced. But yeah, it looks super interesting. Definitely check out the trailer, or if you're listening to this in the audio version, check out the VOD on YouTube at Video Game Tango. Anyways, that is Screenbound. Next up is Battle Aces. Battle Aces is an RTS with a little bit of card battler elements. So before you start your game, you're allowed to pick cards that determine the function of your tech trees. If you're familiar with RTSs, then you're familiar with tech trees within RTSs. You build your platforms, they give you tech trees and units to create. You get cards at the beginning of every game that allow you to change those and give them some variables. Another interesting part is this is an online multiplayer game. The person you play against, because this is 1v1, can also see your card draft. The cards are given to you semi-randomly. You get to pick from a draft. And at that point, you get to show each other your cards. You get a countdown timer while you're choosing those cards. You then jump into a proper RTS. Some of the main takeaways from this is they limit every game to just 10 minutes. So very quick. No game will go over 10 minutes with the exception of the card selection. So once you finish your matchmaking and you've jumped into card selection and you jump down into the RTS map, you have 10 minutes and first person to score the most points via destruction of the other person's units and bases wins. They came out with an awesome anime style trailer. It looks very incredible. Cool. I would check it out. Again, it's Battle Aces. They also have a gameplay breakdown with the head developer on the IGN YouTube channel. I highly recommend you check that out as well, because I think he does a way better job of breaking it down. It's also 8 minutes that they get to talk about it instead of 5 minutes like us here. But yeah, from the developer's side, he does a really good job of explaining the gameplay loop and what they're doing different than other RTSs. Again, that's Battle Aces. That is slated to Steam, and the release date is coming soon. Let's go to Nick for just a little bit here.
Hello.
You've got a game.
Hi.
Tactical Breach Wizards.
Tactical Breach Turtles, which is going to be the sequel. So have you ever wanted to play a SWAT game where there's a wizard staff sticking out of your M16, where your breach charges are rune sigils and your SWAT members are snappy, witty, sarcastic bastards that love to make jokes? Welcome to Tactical Breach Wizards. This was far and above the best demo that I played out of the 15 or so I played over the last 2 days in Steam's Next Fest. And I have a lot of praise to say about it. So what is it and how does it play? So you start off with a little prologue story, a very basic tutorial teaching you how this game works. And then you proceed to enter kind of a police criminal Call of Duty style mystery drama of this old operative going rogue and doing something with the Druid Mafia. There's a bunch of druids with Mac 10s in the opening level, which is fantastic. It plays a lot like a very, very quick Into the Breach or XCOM or something like that. Little turn-based gridded tactical battles. Each map usually takes no more than a few minutes to complete. You have plenty of primary and secondary objectives depending on how difficult you want to make it for yourself. But yeah, you are like SWAT, breach, and clear teams, but you're also wizards. Your main character is a chronomancer. He can see exactly 1 second into the future, which for mechanical purposes means that you can see how the enemies are going to act and choose to react accordingly. There's also a character who moves faster than everybody else in the tutorial, who becomes a very prominent character. And finally, you have a private investigator, Hex Witch, who uses all kinds of like force repels and whatnot and magical shield bubbles to take down her prey non-lethally. The writing is right on that cusp of perfectly sarcastic and sardonic, but without being overbearing. And there's nice little dialogues between each little level, and in the downtime really gives you a solid identity for the characters. The tutorial and the demo itself doesn't overstay its welcome. Gives you enough to do to feel like you get a good feel for the game. And overall was just the most enjoyable experience. I was laughing out loud at some of the dialogue I read, and I really, really enjoyed it. I forgot to look up release dates and prices and whatnot.
So as far as pricing, that doesn't look like it's announced yet, but there is a demo available right now for at least during Next Fest. I'm not sure if it's going to be they'll continue the demo during Next Fest because the planned release date is actually August 22nd of this year.
Not
so coming soon.
far away.
No, just a little bit.
And
just
it
a little
felt
over 2 months.
polished enough that release date sounds fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the game. I don't think I had any bugs playing through it. The UI was workable and the gameplay was fluid. So
this is definitely a trailer that I would check out. Like even if you intend to check out the game on Next Fest, the trailer is incredible. The way they introduce the characters is awesome, and it has that kind of tongue in cheek and sarcasm that the game sounds like it has as well.
Demo's probably about a half hour long, around there, right? It's not that long.
Just a little bit longer than the trailer.
Yep. Oh, just a little.
Yeah.
11 is a lot bigger than 7. That's true. What else you got?
All right. Well, the next one I've got up is Mecha Break.
Mecha Break.
Mecha Break, if I can get it from my notes here, somewhere.
I believe I only saw the cinematic trailer, which is what we're watching now on the stream.
So Mecha Break is a multiplayer mech game that allows players to choose from diverse mechs, customize appearances, and battle colossal war machines on treacherous terrain. Get ready for the ultimate showdown, blitz, brawl, blaze. This is a mecha fighter, an online multiplayer mecha fighter. Super fast paced. Like we're watching these mecha turn into jets and fly around the map and shoot missiles and lasers absolutely everywhere. And again, this is another trailer that you need to check out because this one does seem like it showcases what the game is about. Even though most parts of it are cinematic trailer, there's quite a bit of gameplay in this trailer and definitely worth checking out. This one unfortunately doesn't have a demo. It's not part of Steam Next Fest, but it is being made by Amazing Season. Seasun. It is coming to Steam, and the release date is to be announced.
Yeah. It is, I mean, on a scale of Mech Warrior to Gundam, with Armored Core 6 being right of the middle, this is right of Armored Core 6. It is a very fast-paced, anime-inspired mecha game.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as ludicrous as Gundam is, but it's up there.
Yeah.
So it's going to be some intense multiplayer action, just given what I can see of the gameplay in the trailer.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see how it controls, just because I see such fast movement on screen. It'll be interesting to see how it controls. But
If it's anything like Armored Core 6, after just a few hours of it, it starts to sink in. It works well.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll follow suit with a similar control schema.
I'm hoping so, because if the control scheme is tight, then I think that is going to be. It looks like it's
If
going to
it's
be
not,
great.
that game is going to bounce off a lot of people.
Yeah, I think this one's either going to be fantastic or really bad, and I think most of that comes down to the control scheme, and I mean that's pretty much it. Otherwise, it looks really fucking cool.
Honestly, I saw that trailer and I immediately thought of you and your brother a bit. I was like, man, sometimes you see a game and you're like, I don't know that that's for me, but I know
who that's
exactly
for.
who
I know
that's
who
for.
that's for.
Adam probably wreck shop in that game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you've got another game under your belt that you played in Steam Next Fest.
I do.
Flintlock,
Flintlock, the Blurbinings of Blurbiter.
The Siege of Dawn.
Yeah, that's the one.
That one looked interesting. I saw a trailer for that.
So this one, I played a few Dark Souls likes in the demo. This is the only one that stood out, and it stood out for a few reasons. One, it didn't control like ass. A lot of demos this year control like ass. I don't know who decided that was a good idea. But yes, so when I say Dark Souls Light, it is 60 to 70% Dark Souls, right? You are fighting hard enemies and learning to parry them and dodge them and collecting resources for killing them that you can lose if you die. That said, there's very much a Far Cry, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn feel to this game where it's not linear tunnels, do until you die, Dark Souls style exploration and traversal. There's a lot of mobility, double jumps, and weird magical grappling points, and the ability to get on top of other buildings and multiple paths around the map, side quests to go on, that it feels like it's trying to carve out a space slightly adjacent to, if not parallel, to Dark Souls. The lore setting and vibe are pretty interesting in some ways. Your main character is essentially a sapper for a Civil War army, but who they're fighting is the dead because they're pouring out of a gate. In the opening first chapter is you trying to blow that up with explosives because the dead keep pouring out, and that's not good for anyone. And that proceeds to cause even more problems than it's solved. And then you meet a little tiny god who becomes your sidekick. I really liked it. It's a little floaty. I don't remember the name of the studio of their previous game, but I did look it up. And their previous game, I think Ashen was the name of it, also was quite floaty. It's got this nebulous way that's hard to describe. The controls are not tight, which is a bit of a problem given the fact that I'm almost 900 years old. And between a main attack and a flintlock gun and a parry and a counter and a double jump and a dodge and a dash and a double dash and a double dodge and a magic attack and a heavy magic attack and all these things, it was a lot. I did not do as well as I felt I should have. Part of that's on me. I don't think a lot of younger people are going to have the problems I had. But that said, it wasn't all me. I mean, I played a good amount of Dark Souls clones.
Yeah.
I don't think this is bad. I don't necessarily think that it's great, but I think this is probably going to be a good game if I had to put my money somewhere. And if you like Dark Souls clones, and I know they come out with 7 of them a day. I like this more than I liked Lies of P. Lies of P felt very like 95% copy of Dark Souls mechanics.
Yeah.
This is way more. It's got some like Devil May Cry kind of influences to the feel of combat, right? A little more God of War, a little more action than the slow, deafening pace of Dark Souls. And I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Awesome. That one, also, you won't have to wait too long because it's coming out July 18th.
Oh, dang, that's right around the corner.
Yeah, we're just a little bit more than a month away from that release. Going on to the next one. This is a little bit of a controversial one, I think. Nick and I talked about this one a little bit earlier, and it feels like we're definitely in the minority when it comes to our decision so far on Perfect Dark. So, Perfect Dark, obviously, for anybody in the gaming know, has been loudly touted as one of the best early console shooters of all time. It was from the N64 era, and it was, while it used the same engine that GoldenEye 007 used, it did a lot of neat things. Again, touted as like one of the, probably until Halo, honestly, one of the greatest of all time console shooters. It came with more depth than something like 007 did, especially in story and narrative. And now we are getting essentially what is a reboot of the franchise, it looks like. So this one has no release date yet. There's only a semi-cinematic trailer. We do get a first-person perspective in this cinematic trailer. I'm not sure how much of it is actual gameplay, if any. It could be trying to mimic what the gameplay is going to be. I'm not quite sure if there's anybody actually behind the controls in this one, to be honest. Really hard to tell. But it is an early trailer for a game that doesn't have a release date announced so far. And to be honest, the trailer did not wow me at all. It felt fairly generic. Didn't see any cohesion of theme in the trailer either. And what I saw of the gameplay or the mimicked gameplay, to me, honestly, it looked fairly generic shooter to me, which, you know, we've had a lot of advancements in shooters since the N64 era. So I'm not quite sure. This actually isn't the trailer that we watched. This is an old trailer. I kind of messed up on that one, but yeah, I don't know. This one, they showed this one 3 years ago. So the first announcement was 3 years ago. And what we saw in the new trailer wasn't that impressive. You know, you had some thoughts on it too, Nick.
Well, I got talking about it with my brother, and it spawned a whole conversation that went in a million different paths. But the crux of the conversation, and it wasn't just this trailer, it was a handful of trailers from the Xbox Showcase and some other ones that have come out recently, that I was grousing about a lack of cohesion in theme in favor of an overwhelming palette. There are so many games nowadays that have easy and ubiquitous access to really cool assets in their engines. Everything, the standard level of detail and quality of models and environments is only ever getting better. So because of the ease of access to things like high quality models and engines and programs, we're getting a lot of games that are trying to seemingly throw the whole kitchen sink into their game at once. There's another trailer, Vowed or something like that, that felt very much like that. It's like they took every fantasy trope they could think of and tried to smash it into one trailer. And they look great, right? That's the problem. Like we watched the Starfield DLC, and it's got the Stranger Things universe stuff thrown in there. Now, again, I said this then, I'll say it now. I didn't play a lot of Starfield. I only got a few hours into it. There's other people who could touch on this better than I could. But from all that I got in those first few hours, they were going for this 80s retro future sci-fi aesthetic that the trailer did not match. It had straight up like Destiny level sci-fi fantasy magic shit in it. And that's fine, like if it was one game, right? But I don't know what Perfect Dark, showing what they showed us in that other trailer, exactly what it wants to be. Is this like a hybrid of something as stealthy, tactical, strategic as Splinter Cell with a more up-to-date, fast-paced modern shooter? Is that what they were going for? I don't know, because the trailer is a bit all over the place. Doesn't mean the game's going to be bad, because again, it's a mostly cinematic trailer. It doesn't tell us anything about the fucking game. But I'm just getting a little burnt out on games having everything and your brother and your sister and your aunt thrown into them because you can, right? Even Flintlock was kind of like that. It's like, it's so easy to put in cool aesthetics and graphics of things and create this melange of genres that ends up not really having an identity other than it looks like every other game that does that. So I'll shut up. But yeah, that was my confusion about the Perfect Dark trailer.
Yeah. Josh, you had some thoughts too on the Perfect Dark trailer?
Yeah, I thought it looked all right. I do feel like they are definitely going for not a detective-esque kind of shooter, like something like with a Batman Arkham kind of feel, where you're using those gadgets to do some shit, but you're using a gun. Mm-hmm. So it definitely felt like, I don't know, maybe what they would try to do with a GoldenEye in the modern sense, with the gadgetry
probably what's the Dishonored style is probably what they're aiming for, something like that.
So, something like that. I felt that translated through there very well, but also it rustled my jimmies to hear Perfect Dark. So it punched that nostalgia button hard. There was honestly, Xbox did that with a few games. I mean, just to bring it up real fast, the new Fable 4, like, even though there was no gameplay, no announcement for when it's going to happen.
I'll say it again. I'm always ready for Fable to give it another shot.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Let's see what they got this time.
And that felt like classic Fable. That felt really good to watch. So yeah, I mean, if it hits the nostalgia button well, excuse me, and oh goodness, and the gameplay loop is good.
We haven't seen gameplay.
Yeah.
We don't know yet.
I don't. I feel like the trailer, did it not have any?
It showed some first-person action sequences, but in today's modern world, that doesn't mean you're watching gameplay.
That's true. That's true.
It can still be all cinematic.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily even curated without the HUD or anything like that. So that's fair. I gave them a little more. Maybe give them a little more credit than they showed.
I don't want to shit on it.
The trailers were. All of the trailers were good.
Oh yes, excellent. They were all excellent.
I mean, there were very few trailers that weren't good during like all of the game showcases. Sure, there were some that I'm like just not into by the virtue of the game that they are. But I mean, we got a lot of really good trailers.
I'll tell you what Perfect Dark felt like. It felt like a plussed up Far Cry.
That doesn't scream great to me, so I don't know.
Far Cry used to be good, dog. Lots of people like Far Cry.
Yeah, for sure. I have no problem with Far Cry other than they've continued to reuse assets and essentially the same game over and over.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that like that.
But
there
that's
are a lot
what
of people
that
that like
felt like. There was if that is the stuff. There was quick action. You're using gadgetry. You have some. I mean, you mostly have a Perfect Dark pistol, but yeah. That's what maybe we'll see.
Well, I just wanted to touch on that one. So that, while that one's not that's something that I want to watch, right? Because Perfect Dark brings connotations, just the name. And that's something that I'm going to be watching as the game develops. Again, there's no release date, not even like release year for this. So we have no idea when the window that this is coming out in. So it is something that I want to watch as it develops. But we did get a new trailer. It's been 3 years since it's been announced that Xbox is working on Perfect Dark. So to see that they are still going with it and that it hasn't been on the chopping block from Microsoft is good. But we'll be waiting to see more from it for sure. Next up is this kind of made the Xbox Showcase for me. The Xbox Showcase, I think, was awesome as a whole. But we are getting new Gears of War.
Gears of Gore.
I am so goddamn excited. So, it's being made by the Coalition, the guys that have made everything from 3 and on. So 3, Gears of War Judgment, Gears 4, and Gears 5. So the Coalition is at it again with a prequel this time. This is Gears of War E-Day. So this was the official announcement trailer. There is no information on when we should be expecting this at all. Probably not even 2025, being as all we got this time around was a 2-minute cinematic trailer that was definitely used to invoke nostalgia from you. They even used like an ambient music style version of Mad World, which is the song they used in the original trailer for the original Gears of War. everybody knows that trailer. Gears of War kind of set the world on fire for a little bit. It was vastly different than anything that had been made before it. It really pushed the graphics limitations of the Xbox 360, and for its era, it was a massive, massive title. And then it became just kind of an extra showcase of what the Xbox could handle. It kind of became the benchmark for graphic fidelity in the Xbox series lineup. And then we kind of deviated away from the typical Gears of War where it was you, Marcus, and your friend Dom, or your friend Marcus and you, Dom, playing together to bring down the endless hordes of bad guys.
Locusts.
Locusts, thank you. I'm a huge fan of the Gears of War franchise. While I haven't played 5 yet, even 4, I really enjoyed the gameplay of. I didn't think the story and the narrative was quite as good as it had been previously, which had gone down a little bit with 3 and Judgment. But going back to E-Day, getting Marcus and Dom back, and kind of exploring what happened before the events of the first game has me really excited for this game. If they can bring back the classic gameplay, the classic interactions between Marcus Phoenix and his crew, the old style of the Locust threat, and maybe even a little bit of an insight into the Cog War, man, I'm so excited. This is a franchise that is near and dear to my heart. I don't think I played any other Xbox 360 game as much as I played Gears of War 2. I played Horde mode probably several hundred hours, if not a couple, up to 1,000 or 2. Oh. A massive amount of Gears 2. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And we don't talk a lot about AAA gaming on this podcast, and I feel like we are this one. And that's because, honestly, they had a pretty good showing of AAA games coming out soon. So this is one that I'm hugely looking forward to, and I just want to give you guys a moment if you have anything to say about it.
I feel like if you're going to do Gears of War to get people excited about a Gears of War game, this was the right way to do it. You have Dom and Marcus Phoenix front and center in the trailer. You have the Locust ripping the city apart. That was always in the Gears of War games. Like, how the hell did this happen? What the heck was going on? So it's the right way to do it. The characters are there to, again, juice that kind of nostalgia feel, because that's. And then it gets you back to basics, the nitty gritty team combat, moving through ripping hordes. It's perfect. Yeah, I love that we're seeing it again. Did you have anything to say about Gears?
Would you get the fuck out of the way, please?
Dude, again, I have been on the Gears of War subreddit, and there's one post where somebody says, has anybody else heard this line? And I was fortunate enough to see that. And then they posted gameplay footage that they found from YouTube.
They found it.
Yes.
Oh,
from 15 years prior of Marcus doing that. And that is one voice line that through my hundreds, maybe even 1,000+ hours of gameplay, I've heard it once.
Yeah.
Marcus saying to Dom, "Would you get the fuck out of the way, please?"
It's just the context of the time he said it, but is so fucking hilarious.
The please on the end absolutely destroyed me. Just kills me. God, I can't wait to get back in. The fucking active reload system made. I have never felt like more of a badass than playing Gears of War, especially on the hardest difficulties. Like when you can clear a room with 0 deaths and the constant struggle, you nearly getting one shot. I love that. And I normally don't like trudging through games on their hardest difficulty. For me, it is a pleasure in Gears because it feels visceral. You feel there, and everything you do feels good. From the rodeo run to the taking, the snapping to cover. Just every time I made an action on the controller, it was like the controller knew exactly the inputs I was trying to give it every time, and it just snaps right to the next cover. And the active reload, when you hit it every single time, just feels so satisfying. There isn't a part of those games that I dislike. So, sometimes the controls can get a little bit kludgy when you're going through some of the weirder environments. But other than that, man, I love this franchise.
Kludge in the future.
There's kludge in the future. So I'll stop oozing on about Gears of War, and we'll move on to Nick. You played another game from Next Fest.
I did. Which one?
The Altars.
The Altars. This was the most interesting game I played.
Yeah.
So roll that shit in the background so Josh can watch this because he's not familiar. So you're a schlub who, out of luck, got a job on a colony ship to go through the stars looking for a new mineral called rupidium. Something goes wrong, and your ship crash lands on this strange alien planet. Upon waking up, you find out immediately that you can't get in contact with home base, and all the other life pods, the occupants are dead, which means you're the only surviving crew member, some no-name, low-rank schlub, and the space or the like planet-bound station that you find has no one else in it. So you try to get into contact with Earth, and you're getting these radio signals that are cutting out and they're saying something, imminent danger, sun, and you realize that you're in a trinary star system, and in a matter of like 7 days, the orbit is going to take this planet too close to them and fry the entire surface. So what the hell do? You don't have commander override to take control of the full station. You're desperately running around in your little exoskeleton spacesuit trying to figure out what to do. When you finally get a hold of somebody and they tell you there's a cloning bay on this ship, and there's also a quantum computer that contains all of your memories. And all you need to do is go into your memories, alter them, and create a clone of yourself with a different timeline, which gives them the opportunity to learn different skills. You then make the first clone of yourself, which becomes a mechanic, as opposed to you running away to college instead of helping your mom with your alcoholic dad. This version stayed behind, beat the shit out of your dad, and kicked him out, and stood up for himself, and went down an entirely different life path. And then you have to explain this all to the clone and keep them from freaking out and rebelling, because if you don't work together, you both now die in 7 days. You've created a life just to try to save your own. And the game has mechanics and narrative and UI on how to control these relationships. On top of that, it is also survival crafter. You need to find resources and things outside of the space station, and very much, honestly, no meme joke aside, a very Strand-like style running around these bizarre landscapes, setting up a rather simple survival crafting management system. You set up little bases that are semi-automated. You only have so much time a day to do these things. Radiation waves come at night, and you constantly have to keep your mobile base moving so that the suns don't get you. What did I like about this game? The sheer concept and novelty and potential for a social stress, drama, tension simulator that is you trying to interact with clones of yourself who all feel that they might be the best version of you is fantastic. What little of that you get in the demo, which is kind of the second half of the demo, really piqued my interest. To the point where like your relationships with the clone are shown through the UI, like how much you're making them anxious or pissed off at you based off your dialogue choices. And I really, really like that. The visuals and setting are very cool, very alien. The world kind of reminds me of the Aliens Promethean. It's got that vibe to it. Lots of giants, ladder, basalt columns and stuff like that. The survival crafting element is so, how do I put this? I really don't think it's necessary. If this game had entirely been like you making clones, trying to handle the clones, and outside and inside influences are constantly adding stressors. The ship's breaking down, you're running out of time, a radiation storm comes in, something needs to be fixed, while you're also having to manage versions of yourself, that would have been enough. I think the game is pretty close to release given how polished it seemed. I don't think it's probably going to change that much. That said, I don't think it necessarily detracts from the game. I just think it was honestly a waste of time. Mm-hmm. This game shouldn't have tried to tack on the newest, funnest thing, which is adding survival crafting elements into fucking every game that exists now. As much as I like them, it does enough already that it doesn't need that. Mm-hmm. That said, this game is ripe for good plot twists and sudden changes and intense narrative beats, given that you have, like, if you've seen The Moon, the movie, right, or stuff like that. I could really see a lot of really cool narrative beats happening in this story. They had a really good feedback section after I finished the demo, which told me that they actually cared about feedback. It's not like, how would you rate this game 1 out of 10? No, it's like a 3-page questionnaire. Gave them lots of feedback. And yeah, I really, really liked it. As much as Tactical Breach Wizards is probably going to be my most favorite game to come out of this demo, this is probably the most interesting game that came out of the demo by far. And yeah, I highly recommend everyone check it out. I think it's worth trying. Again, it's a demo. It's free. It took maybe an hour. Probably takes less. I mean, I ran into a few stumbling blocks. Like the tutorial's telling you to do something, and I gathered too much of one resource. So when I went to go do the tutorial thing, I couldn't fit enough of it in. So I had to waste an in-game day of going back to base and stuff like that. But I really liked it.
The premise is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's disappointing to hear that it sounds like the survival crafting elements of it were maybe shoehorned in out of
they're not
the feeling for necessity.
Bad. I just don't think they're necessary.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like they were complicated or difficult or challenging. It's just something to do in between story beats, I guess. Now, I mean, you can of course tie that into drama of, things going wrong.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't think you need the player to actually be running around setting up oil wells when when the story isn't moving forward, right?
Yeah.
You're just doing stuff to gather resources. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out in the full game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they still have time, right?
Sometime this year. I'll see if I can find it while we're talking about it.
Yeah, if you can find it. What are your thoughts, Josh?
It definitely looked pretty interesting. It's much like Screenlocked. I didn't say that one right. The one where you're looking at the Game Boy and you're in the
Screenbound.
Screenbound. Screenlocked was pretty close. Much like Screenbound, it seems very innovative.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. And it immediately made me think of the Gary Vault. So it's like, well, if I can't do it, then the rest of me can.
Yeah.
So it's fun. I definitely like the idea. It's an interesting premise. Very cool.
Yeah.
On top of that, if you're anybody of a gaming nerd, I can tell you that this comes from 11-Bit Studios, who has an insane track record of games of very specific genre. The Thaumaturge, Frostpunk, This War of Mine. These are all games developed by 11-Bit Studio, as well as the Alters. The most recent indie hit, Indica, blew up there for a little while. So yeah, these guys have a track record. They have multiple games under their belts. I don't think this is going to be a pump and dump like some of the demos I played.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, hey, Doom fans.
Doom.
We've got more
yes.
Dooms. This is another one that you really definitely need to watch the trailer for because the trailer is fucking badass.
Yeah, it is. It's dope.
Yeah.
So what if Doom guy but swords?
Yeah. So it's Doom the Dark Ages, and boy, oh boy. I mean, Doom Eternal really took things up to 11. This one might be taking it up to 12.
It's breaking the knob off, baby.
Yeah. So you go back to a demon-conquered medieval times.
Analog times.
Yeah, and
There's no more knob.
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the iteration of the BFG is going to be in this boy. I mean, this starts off with showing the Doomslayer in a giant bear cloak, being given a shield and the double barrel shotgun. New twists on the double barrel shotgun, and I assume this is going to be called the Doom Shield because everything's a Doom something. Dude, it's a chainsaw shield that you get to throw at people like Captain America, and it comes back to you. Not only that, but there's also a gun that shreds skulls. It's its ammunition to fling it at bad guys.
It's like a tree mulcher shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so
Fantastic.
sick. That sold me immediately. Then that's followed up by jumping into a mech that looks like Doom Guy, so you can fight something that looks like the icon of sin. And then the next scene is you jumping on a dragon with laser wings and lasering people down in the skies. Dude. Again, we don't talk a lot about AAA games on this show, and we shit on them pretty frequently, but this is a franchise that Bethesda, oddly enough, seems to be fucking nailing. Because Doom 2016, I did enjoy Doom 2016 to a point.
Yeah.
Doom Eternal took
Eternal's
that
better.
up notches. Yes, I think the gameplay of Doom Eternal was much more fast paced, frenetic, but the controls were incredible. Like very few qualms about that there, and just the shooting mechanics were just like fun. It is pure, unadulterated fun. You can scale that challenge with more difficult settings. It was fantastic. This seems to be taking that into the next phase. Changing the theme is essentially all it's doing, right? But it's also adding some more badass shit.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of
really cool.
He solved demons in the now times,
Yeah.
and what else do you do? I guess go back in time and kill the demons that used to be.
Hell yeah, dude.
Right? Good enough reason for me.
Yeah, and what a great, cool theme to throw the Doomslayer in. Like the fact that we can just change the time and throw the Doomslayer in it is
If your
awesome.
home base, your Portal World base, where you're getting ready to go on a mission, doesn't have bardcore versions of the music, I'm going to be very upset. I better
Yeah.
hear some harpsichords and hurdy-gurdies.
Yes, good call.
Right? Throw that shit in there. And then when you get into the matches, then you can have your heavy metal, right?
Definitely.
But
Yeah.
Right, that'd be perfect.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
And again, with another AAA title, we have Metal Gear Solid Delta. I talked about this one at length a while back, and man, it looks exactly like what I wanted. It looks like a true-to-form remake of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. So this is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. All we got was a trailer, partially cinematic, but with plenty of gameplay included. It has all the stuff that Snake Eater had. The introduction of CQC into the Metal Gear series, which of course has been in every other Metal Gear down the line since. But this is the grandfather of where Metal Gear Solid went. If you want to talk about Kojima style antics, this one really upped it. Like you thought the Lale Lule Lo was kind of weird, and the settings and theme of Metal Gear Solid 2 were a little bit weird. This one has a nearly blind geriatric gentleman in a wheelchair that jumps his wheelchair and starts crawling around on the ground trying to scope you out as a sniper. This has Ocelot, firing revolvers while they're in the air. It's a fun time. What they've done, though, is they've taken the fixed viewpoint of Snake Eater and they've turned it into an over-the-shoulder third-person action game. And that's kind of all I wanted, and it looks like that's going to be what they're delivering. I'm looking forward to experiencing the story again from a different perspective with just, like, kind of inarguably better control scheme. I think it's going to control better.
20 years.
Yeah, I mean, you effectively had tank controls with the old Metal Gear Solid games. So to see that updated with, more current control scheme than we used to get from the old Metal Gear Solid games on the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, I'm looking so forward to this. Like, it's tactical espionage action, baby, and it's back and it's in a new form, and I'm looking so damn forward to this game. If you haven't played Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, this is for you. If you have, this is still probably for you.
Speaking of which, excellent soundtrack.
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. The game also, if you want to talk about loving Kojima surprises, this is like Kojima surprise to the nth degree. This, it's so Kojima coded.
Kojima surprise.
Yeah. I mean, you play as the original Snake. You play as Naked Snake, Snake Plissken, the OG.
Play snake in the trench coat. Two snakes.
Twin snakes. Oh, that was jokes. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Did you want to talk about Aloft real quick?
I can.
Sure, we can skip it if you want to.
There
I
was
have a few shout outs to
bevy
give.
of cozy games this demo release. And the one that felt far enough along that it might not become vaporware and that they seem to be trying was Aloft. Aloft's general idea is that there's a bunch of sky islands. I'm always down for sky islands because what are mountains if not sky islands that can't fly? I missed the splash screen art. I missed the opening main menu screen art because I was blazing through demos and didn't realize until halfway this trailer that you can straight up just strap an island with sails and rudders and floats and start flying the islands around. The islands are big and small. They have all kinds of different animals and creatures and plants on them. Some of them are corrupted, and your job is to remove that. and eventually restore the ecological balance by balancing out the plants and animals and insects on each of these islands so that you can restart society. The game is highly mobile, maneuverable. You can at any time bust out this wing glider and jet around at high speeds, meaning that when you're searching these islands, you can look underneath them or fly through the forests on them at high rates of speed. You feel very in control of where you are and where you want to be. And yeah, very quickly you learn how to essentially strap an island and start flying around and turn it into a mobile base. It is also co-op, which is the reason I played it, because it's like, I'm looking for the next Astroneer, the next Subnautica.
Yeah.
And I played a lot of games that were very, very influenced by Subnautica and Astroneer, and they were all kind of garbage. So to see this one doing its own thing, but still hitting that feeling of like wild exploration of new things in a co-op setting, that was very exciting. The game has combat, it has challenge. It's not terribly difficult. I don't expect this to be a game for Moist Critical to be playing, but I could be wrong. But yeah, I really enjoyed what I played of it. I played just enough to realize, okay, I made a little island, started flying around. It's like I could build a house and do all this stuff. But that was enough. I didn't need to play anymore, because I will hopefully, if somebody else wants to play it, eventually pick it up and try it out.
Yeah, I'll play it with you.
This would be, I mean, it doesn't have the complexity of Satisfactory or like V-Rising. I'd say it's probably comparable to Valheim in like its like building complexity and tech tree and whatnot. But yeah, I could see this having some really fun mechanics, and it just felt great. It felt great to have like a wingsuit flying thing that just worked well, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, very cool.
I mean, tight controls and fun gameplay, that's all I'm looking for, right? Yeah. Like at the end of the day, adding some awesome narrative or adding some awesome story, adding some super great graphics on top of that, all good things. But, tight gameplay, just fun. That's what I'm looking for in games. And there's a lot of games that came out over this last weekend. I'm going to give a few quick mentions to some of the ones that we didn't give too much time. We didn't talk about Dark and Darker. Dark and Darker had its release on Steam. That's kind of the big news here.
That's awesome.
It's still in early access. There are some major complaints about it. It went from mostly positive to mixed reviews in its most recent Steam release. I'm just gonna read one of the reviews here. It says, it's not free to play, it's just a demo. You can't bring uncommon items into a run unless you pay $30, which entirely kills the point of extracting items. Unlocking multiple characters is a big enough reason to buy the game and pushed me to consider buying the $30 version. I just cannot recommend as a free-to-play game, and it's really disappointing it's being advertised as free-to-play. So it is a bit controversial since it relaunched on Steam. We've talked about reasons why it was delisted from Steam, but it is back now. And it's being touted as free to play. Even in their trailer, it says free to play. That's not quite true.
It just seems disingenuous.
It does seem disingenuous. So I can understand why people have their complaints about it. Now, there are plenty of other totally valid complaints as far as the gameplay goes and stuff. It can feel a little bit kludgy at times. The combat is not super straightforward and easy to get used to. Exactly. It is purposely kludgy.
Wibbly wobbly in play.
Yeah. So I can understand that this game certainly isn't for everybody. But as far as extraction style games go, the theme and the motif is really on point. I mean, it is a dungeon crawler that you can run with up to 2 other friends of yours. I think it's up to a party of 4, actually.
3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, it's either 3 or 4. And I think a barrier to entry of $30 isn't asking a whole lot, being that was already the initial price of the game.
Yeah, but then say that. Don't say it's free to play.
For sure, yeah. And again,
you can play it for free. You're just going to get your shit kicked in because you're not allowed to play effectively.
Again, I think there are valid criticisms on their monetization model, for sure. I think if you were to look at it, or if they were to express it, that you can play the game free as a demo with unlimited playtime with restrictions, that would solve all of their problems as far as the issue of the $30 paywall. If they just expressed it correctly, because I think personally at $30 the game is well made. we had fun while we played it in our last session. The game has developed quite significantly since the last time we played. They've added a lot more additional content. They've added, like several more, dungeons to it. They've added multiple levels. They've added another game type.
That their lawsuit went okay.
I have to assume so
why
as
else
well.
would it be on Steam? Which means that Nexon or whoever was suing them for asset theft were found in the wrong. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, most people in our ilk have played Dark and Darker. We know what to get in. We're getting into.
Yeah.
Right. Unless you pay the $30 and you get access to all the mechanics and all the gear and whatnot, then you're playing just to experience the game at a very low level.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to lose a bunch, but
oh, definitely. It's a hard game to get into. Yeah. So on top of that, other than the release of Dark and Darker on Steam, there was more gameplay showed for Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2.
yeah, it's coming up. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, for me, that's kind of like a default purchase. I'm looking forward to playing that as
Have
well.
you played any of the first-person Warhammer games? Nope. It's like God of War with chain guns.
Yeah, no, I've watched some gameplay. It definitely seemed pretty dope.
Yeah, super solid.
Fun.
Another the one that really quickly caught my eye is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024.
Oh, yeah. They're doing some crazy stuff with that.
Yeah, the last Flight Simulator was awesome, especially with the almost completely accurate topography that they used using satellite. Super cool. But what 2024 does a little bit differently is objective-based gameplay. So you can jump into survive or rescue helicopters, or you can do crop dusting. You can do. They have the Red Bull Exposition.
X Games.
Yeah, the X Games.
Red Bull games.
Yeah, that stuff. So, it's more than just like commercial flight, and it is giving you objective-based gameplay. I think that's super cool.
Got the ornithopter from Dune in it.
Yeah, that's true too. They have the
I might
ornithopter
get
from
the game
Doom.
just to fly that damn thing.
I know, that's super cool. So especially if you've got a decent little setup going as far as joystick and stuff goes, I think that can be a lot of fun. Fallout 76 Skyline Valley expansion for Fallout 76 was announced. That's going to be coming out June 12th, 2024. Stalker 2 got a release date again, very much confirmed this time. Yes, of September 25th, 2024. The trailer they showed wasn't new, but I always like seeing Stalker, so I was excited to see that there. World of Warcraft: The War Within got a release date of August 26th, 2024. So
It's right after your birthday.
Yeah, it's very close to my birthday. And not only that, but we actually got another cinematic trailer. Now, it did pull a lot of footage from previous cinematic trailers of World of Warcraft, but there was also new content there as well. It looks like they're pulling from the cinematics that are going to be in-game once The War Within launches. That was really cool. It's always nice to see a Blizzard cinematic. Speaking of Blizzard cinematics, they showed off Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred. While, we've kind of dunked on Diablo 4 for all of its shortcomings, I hope it gets better. Maybe this can be its Reaper of Souls, and this can reap the soul and bring it back. Who knows? You never know. But that got a release date. It's October 8th, 2024. Sea of Thieves Season 13 is coming. That's going to be July 25th, 2024. And yeah, man, a lot of great games are coming really soon. And a lot of games, they're starting to show what's coming out next year or maybe the beginning of 2026. And boy, I haven't been this excited for this mini AAA game since I was a kid.
Yeah,
I think Adam Sessler was still... Yeah, I think Adam Sessler was still announcing all of these games when I had this much fun at an E3 conference style thing. So man, I like AAA games, man. I'm looking forward to a lot of them. I think next week we'll probably be talking a lot more about some indie titles because we still have plenty of stuff to check out from Steam Next Fest. I have a feeling I'm gonna be doing that this week. I'm sure you're probably gonna be continuing that as well, Nick. And yeah,
the one thing I know I'm not doing is holding my breath for another week.
For sure. It's tough. I'm sure it is.